sí. Sí. Vamos, campeona. Vamos a subir eso. Ah. Como pueden ver, la caminada es como casi una milla. No es muy difícil. Eso sí, lleven agüita que hace sed. Y sí, se siente. Pero sí, miren los colores de las rocas. Algunas son verdes, otras color oro, y es un paisaje demasiado hermoso. El contraste de todo el cañón es increíble. Estamos casi ya en la puesta del sol y están viendo los detalles del cañón. Wow, qué belleza.
Welcome to Buena Vida route. So today, our second day at Death Valley, we are at Salt Creek. Salt Creek is this little creek that runs through the valley of the Death Valley. It's minus 200 feet of sea level, so it's super salty. And during the spring, they get a little bit of rain, and as the rain evaporates, it creates this creek that is very saline, even more so than the ocean. And only one creature survives, because not only is it very saline, it also drops down to minus 30 degrees and can go up to 120 degrees. In fact, last year, Death Valley broke its record with 180 degrees Fahrenheit. So the pupfish are these tiny little fish that are able to survive in such extreme temperatures and such saline water. Hopefully we actually get to see some. Last time we were here it was November, but we're here now in March, and in March is supposed to be spring, which is also mating season. So we might see some puddles and might actually see the little pupfish. What you actually get to see are the little bubbles that come out of the water, and then that indicates that there's life there. Let's walk along the trail. It's about a half-a-mile loop, and then we'll see if we can spot some of them.
Bienvenidos a Buena Vida Route. Hoy estamos en un lugar espectacular en el Death Valley. Aquí vamos a mirar un riachuelo y aquí vemos un pececito. Es el único ser viviente que hay aquí y el agua es tan salina, tan salada que ningún animal puede sobrevivir en esto. Es increíble uno poder ver esto y esperamos que lo podamos ver hoy, algún pececito.
Bueno, además pueden ver cómo se va formando la sal a la orilla del riachuelo. Ahorita que estamos en primavera hay mucho más corriente en el riachuelo y se ve que a los dos lados del riachuelo se forma la sal.
Ok, acompáñenos.
We can see that there's 2 males and 1 female. The females are a little bit larger, and it might even be that she's pregnant because this is mating season. Hopefully you're able to see them as the water is very clear. Okay, so as you can see, there's a whole community of pupfish. We were very lucky we were able to come back in March. Spring is mating season for the pupfish, so there's a whole set of them right there. Hopefully you guys can appreciate them through the cameras. They're pretty see-through and they're almost the color of the sand. These little survivors have been around in this stream for over 10,000 years and continue to survive even above the very saline water and the extreme temperatures of this national park. Hopefully you're able to listen how much water there is underneath us. You can hear the current, and it got a whole lot stronger than it was where we were before. This is what happens in the springtime. We came here last November and there was barely any water and you could not hear anything. The plants were much greener, but there was barely any water in the creek. So now this actually sounds like there's water underneath us. Pretty amazing what happens with the seasons. One of the amazing things here at Salt Creek in Death Valley National Park is this plant. It's called a Dillweed plant. So what happens is that this plant will absorb all the salt of this creek and it makes the plant survive. But when there's too much salt as it absorbs, then it becomes crystals on these little leaves. And what it does is that it creates a new growth. So you can see how these look a little bit dry and dead. And as the salt reproduces and crystallizes, these new growths are formed. This is how Salt Creek ends up extracting the salt into the plant and then it vaporizes onto the atmosphere of Death Valley. Okay, so here in this one little plant, we can see all stages of what happens to this plant. First, you can see how it dries out into this brown. And then as it gets more saline, it goes into this white grayish. And then it turns red. And from the red, you see the green growing. And then eventually it's all green. Once it's all green, it has taken the salt out of the Salt Creek so that the pupfish can survive in these very saline waters. So we are here in the middle of March and it's still pretty hot. My back is pretty hot. There's a nice breeze, so it's not terrible, but I would recommend that you don't come here in the summertime, because even in this weather, which is like late 70s in Fahrenheit, it's still pretty hot. The sun reflects off of the sand, just as we showed you earlier in the video that the sun reflects off of the salt. And so it creates like that mirror image that happens also when it's snowing. But as you can see, a lot of kids actually bring in here their snowboards, a piece of cardboard, a pneumatic, anything you want, so that you can slide down the dune. And as you can also see here, you can see the sand is a little bit more compacted. Since we probably had some rains, the water must have puddled in this little dip in the valley, and you get all the sand compacted and then breaking up into pieces. Even over here, it almost looks like it was man-made of how like polished it is, right? It's nice and smooth. Okay, so now we are at the Mesquite sand dunes here in Death Valley National Park, and it's basically formed by the fact that it's surrounded by mountains, so you get all the erosion, but it gets trapped within this valley. So the sand dunes would always be here. Basically, desert can be sand all around, but there are specific situations that make it a sand dune. When all the erosion gets trapped in a certain area and the winds don't end up blowing it out of place. So you can see, as wide as you can see, all of these are sand dunes. You can see Andres and Lexi way over there as we've been walking these sand dunes. And you would think that there's no life, but there's actually lots of little bushes. A lot of them even have flowers on them. And if you dig into the sand works like a sponge. So the very little water that this park gets, the sand actually keeps within. If you dig into the sand, you'll get this really cool sensation. So a lot of animals actually live inside of the sand so that they can keep their temperatures down and survive in the very hot temperatures that this park ends up getting to. So our little Lexi has traveled with us so much that when we come to places like this and she's gotten hot, her animal instinct is very much alive, and she ends up finding little shaded places where she can relax. So here on the Great Sand Dunes at Mesquite Dunes in Death Valley, she has found a little shaded spot underneath those bushes, and you can see she's even sprawled out to make sure that she's cooling down. She's a smart little cookie, her.
If you liked this video, please consider subscribing, click like, and stay with us for the following videos in this series. If you want to see more of our past videos, the link is to the right. Thanks, and keep on traveling.